Hi there. My name is Seventh, and I couldn't care less about Game Pass. Now, before I get too far into this, first of all, I need to explain this is not a console war video, okay? The Trey Brotherhood was retired 10 years ago. No one left to go up against nowadays, okay? The Colt Eastwoods, the Mooches, the dealers of the world, these guys are corporate shills. They don't respond to response videos. They just send out their little sycophant fan bases to flag down any video that says anything even slightly negative about them, so there's no point. There's no one left for me to fight anymore. I'm not into that. I have moved on. I am a more mature Seventh. And so the following is just my honest opinion. So don't get upset, okay? I want to say first, both Eighth and I have Game Pass accounts. We both have Xbox Ultimate. I have had Game Pass ever since I managed to find a Series X at bro price. Short of the medium, I have experienced everything that Game Pass has to offer, so I feel I am more than qualified to speak about it. And honestly, there ain't that much to speak about. Going on almost 12 years ago, I warned all of you that this was the direction the console gaming was heading, that physical media would be more and more phased out to make way for a monthly digital subscription service platform, and that eventually there wouldn't even be a need for competing consoles. It would be competing subscription services over library size, price, and exclusive offerings. And here we are, right at the gates, about to go right off the cliff into this, and I could say with authority that I don't care for it for the same reasons that I predicted I wouldn't care for it over a decade ago. No reason to beat around the bush for this thing. The main reason I don't want it is lack of freedom. It recently came out that the Xbox Series X employs the same kind of draconian, online-only DRM that ruined the Xbox One's launch. Y'all remember that? Because I sure do. The big difference here is now you Xbox fans don't care anymore. I told you way back then that Microsoft would back off on this, wait long enough for digital to be a bigger deal, and for y'all to forget about all of it, and then put it right back in there, and that's exactly what they've done. Even if you buy a physical game, short of a couple that are only available on the Xbox Series XS, like the medium, if you don't have internet, you ain't playing it. Even if you buy a physical game, short of a couple that are only available on the Series X or S, like the medium, and you don't have internet, you ain't playing it. If there's a storm outside and your internet goes out, you ain't playing it. Forget to pay your ISP bill, you ain't paying it. Your $500 Beast Box becomes a $500 paperweight. Now, to be fair, there are some games on PS5 that will be the same way, especially games as a service trash like Destruction All-Stars. But if you put a PS4 game in your PS5, it plays it, whether you're on the internet or not. For the most part, if you put a PS5 game in there, it plays it, whether you're on the internet or not. Now, some of this stems from that wonderful backwards compatibility that you're all so enamored with, but haven't given a crap about for the last 2 generations. I wonder why that is. Could it be that without it, you wouldn't have anything new to play until Halo Infinite comes out? Anyway, the issue is that backwards compatibility on the Xbox Series X and S isn't really backwards compatibility at all. It's emulation. You pop in an OG Xbox, 360, or Xbox One game into your system, it's not actually running the game off of the disc. It's basically using the disc as a purchase confirmation, and then it downloads a patch modified version of the game onto your console. That's why when you go to the store, there are no physical Xbox Series X or S games on the shelf. They're all labeled Xbox One/Series games. You're buying the Xbox One version, then it scans the disc, confirms what system you're playing it on, and downloads the correct version of the game. And that is why the system has to be online at all times, to verify that you're playing a game you actually purchased on the system you registered it on. Ain't digital distribution just grand? And have you noticed that out of several thousand OG Xbox and Xbox 360 games, that there's only a small handful that actually work? Well, that's due to licensing, my friends. Remember when people got pissed that you couldn't buy Scott Pilgrim on Xbox Live or PSN anymore because the publisher's license to Scott Pilgrim had expired? Yeah. See, most of those old games were not published by Microsoft, they were third-party titles, some of them from companies that don't even exist anymore. And Microsoft has to have a licensing agreement with whomever is the current rights holder to that intellectual property to host that game on their servers, as what they are doing is not emulating games on a disc, they're offering upgraded remasters with improved graphics and potentially achievements to earn for OG Xbox games. That means they need a license to carry that title so the publisher of the game gets their cut of any sales made by people who don't own the original disc but would still like to play it. And that's why you can't just pop in any old Xbox or 360 title into your new console and play away, because Microsoft doesn't have the rights to put out a patched, remastered version of that game and are not about to spend the money to relicense the thousands of games available for those older systems. But since Xbox Series X is literally just a more powerful Xbox One, it can play Xbox One games without new versions having to be made, especially since they laid down the groundwork for frame rate boosts on existing Xbox One titles back when the Xbox One X came out. All it takes is a little firmware patch. This is why any PS4 game will run off the disc without having to download anything, but you're not going to get above 60 frames per second on it unless the original developers release a patch that upgrades the game. It's not a hardware power problem, it's a configuration problem. The PS5 is built to detect a PS4 game when inserted in the system, and then the GPU switches to a PS4/PS4 Pro mode, depending on whether or not the game was ever enhanced for PS4 Pro, and then runs it at those settings. For the game to hit over Pro level performance, it would need an additional patch, whereas with the Series X, the groundwork has already been laid, all they have to do is turn it on. But again, it's at the cost of additional DRM. And it's not like Sony, even today, is immune to these licensing issues either. Let's say you're a huge Godzilla fan. You've heard Godzilla on PS4 was trash, which it is, but you don't care, you still want to play it. You go on PSN, on a PS5, you search for Godzilla, but it's not there. You think, well, fine, I'll just go on Amazon or eBay and buy me a copy. The game was a piece of crap, so surely it can't cost more than... Oh! But here's the thing. Ultimately, in that situation, a guy like me is still better off on PS5 than I would be on Series X. You know why? Because I don't care about paying full price for a retail game that I want when it's new, and I don't sell old games to pay for new games. I own 39 physical platforms, and I own almost 2,000 physical games across those 39 platforms. I don't worry about hardware failure. If it breaks, we open it up and we fix it. That 60 gig fat PS3 I unboxed in a recent video just a few days ago. 8th popped it open, cleaned out all the dust, put new thermal paste over the cell and the GPU, put it all back together, powered that bad boy up, works like brand new. I don't have to worry about all this DRM crap, these licensing issues. If I want to play an old game, I pull it off the shelf and I play it. And plus, and you 8 and 16-bit collectors know exactly what I'm about to say, if you don't buy physical games, then you can't do this. Oh, oh, that's some good shit.